So I just want to say thank you all for joining me. I hope you can all see my screen. And yes, welcome to the Power Hour. The Power Hour is a new bi-weekly learning series designed for an exclusive group of SysAid customers like yourselves. And each 1 hour Zoom session is hosted live by myself. I'm Cindy Sivan. I'm SysAid's Director of Customer Success. And I'm here to bring you some expert tips, best practices, live Q&A, and to help you level up your SysAid experience. So just a little bit about myself, to anyone who has not joined one of our Power Hours before. I've been at SysAid for 8 years now. I originally started in professional services for the first 4 years, where I worked on really extensive and large implementations. And then after 4 years, I moved into the customer success team, where I'm now the director. And so all I can say is that it's been really good to actually have a lot of foundation to a good product knowledge. And that's where I'm bringing it to the Power Hour today. Okay, I would also like to introduce to you our guest speaker and moderator, George Diaz. He is from our customer revenue team. Just like myself, George also built a solid foundation working in professional services as an implementation manager. And we are super lucky to have him part of the customer revenue team. So George, thank you for joining me today. I know that I may have some internet issues, so I may need you to take over. And of course, thank you for being on the chat as well. And George, I don't know if you just wanted to turn on your camera just to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Cindy and team. Yeah, I'm here to help. Should anything come up, feel free to ask questions. And yeah, glad to be here. Thank you, Cindy.
Amazing. Thank you, George. Okay. All right. So just today, so specifically today, a lot of you asked for a workflow session. And so today is your chance to gain practical knowledge on how to create workflows in our SysAid Classic environment. Our goal is to have you walk away with the knowledge to help you create a workflow, which includes adding dependencies, workflow notifications, and some of my personal best practices that I learned along the way at my journey at SysAid. Okay, so just a little bit of housekeeping. Please feel free to ask questions. There's a Q&A section, or you can just type in the chat as well. Whatever you guys prefer. The rest of my team as well will be monitoring the chat. And yeah, if Barak and Sarah, if you could also, if at any time you'd like to book a meeting with anyone from my team, Sarah and Barak, if you could just add the link into the chat right now. If you would like to book a meeting, please, you can always book a meeting. So you'll see the link now. You can always click on it. And then I will also be adding some polls. So I would love your feedback when I ask you some questions. So let's begin. Okay, so let's start off with the first poll. Thank you, Barak. I see you've posted the registration link. Okay, so let's start off with our first poll. What is the reason SysAid workflows are not currently being utilized in your best practices? What is the reason? Is it too difficult? Not enough time to create them? I don't understand the logic. And I also see that we have customers using extensively. Okay, so I see you're still voting, so I just want to give you another few seconds. Okay, all right. I think we can end the poll. I can tell you that the majority is 38% of you said that it was not enough time to create them. 24% is you don't understand the logic. 21% you're using them extensively. That's absolutely amazing. And 17% it's too difficult to implement. Okay, so you've joined the right Power Hour, and this is why I'm here. Okay, so just two little slides that I wanted to go through. Firstly, is that workflows in SysAid take the stress out of managing complicated IT tasks by automating steps that usually involve several systems, teams, and tools. So I'm not going to read this to you verbatim, but I can tell you is that when you're using SysAid workflows, things will start to run smoother, faster, there will be fewer mistakes, things will work more consistently. And looking ahead with advancements as well, like generative AI, tools like SysAid will help increase and SysAid will help increasingly suggest and implement smart workflows automatically. So what this means is you're going to get obviously a lot of benefits, right? Number one, you're going to save time. All right. Number two, you're going to get things right every time. Why? Because workflows run the same way every single time. So you're going to be able to reduce mistakes and keeping things consistent. There's also going to be enhanced collaboration, of course, because teams across all departments can stay aligned with a clear task and ownership. Okay, there's also better and enhanced visibility. You get full visibility into what's happening at every step, so issues can be spotted and resolved before they cause any further issues or problems. And you keep data safe and sound. So workflows help protect sensitive information and keep an audit trail for peace of mind and, of course, compliance. Okay, so I'm not going to spend so much time on the slide deck. My main thing is to go through and create a workflow with you guys step by step. So let's start. But before we start, of course, I'm not going to bombard you with too many polls, but I am going to ask you one question in our poll number 2. Barak, if you can please launch it. Our next poll is, are you leveraging SysAid for onboarding and offboarding purposes? Are you leveraging SysAid for your onboarding and offboarding purposes? Thank you all for taking part in the polls. It always gives me a lot of information. Okay, let's just keep it going for just another few minutes, well, another few seconds. Wow, that was interesting. Right now, it's still going, but we're almost like 50-50. Some of you are using it. It's literally 50-50. And half of you are not using it. Okay, so again, it just reiterates that you've joined the right session. So I can tell you that every single customer that we have, everyone has an onboarding and offboarding in their environment, like in their company. Everyone has onboarding and offboarding, right? So you want to be able to either enhance it if you're already using a workflow, or what you want to do is you want to be able to create an onboarding and offboarding workflow. And that's why I've decided to show you that today, because this is going to mostly benefit you. Okay, so this is my test environment, as you can see, and I hope you all can see it. And I'm going to start from the beginning. Okay, so first is first. I'm going to show you in 3 different steps there's 3 different parts to creating a workflow. There's a subtype, there's a template, and there's what we do in the self-service portal for your end users. Okay, so number 1, and don't worry, this is all being recorded. Okay, so you'll have the recording. Number 1, you will always start in the subtype. In the subtype is where you actually create the request with all of the fields that you need. Can you enlarge the SysAid screen? Yeah, sure. Let me try and do that. Is that better? There we go. Is that better, Nika? Hopefully it is. If it's not, just let me know. Okay, so you always start off in the subtype. So let's go from the beginning. Okay, create a new subtype. All right. And what are we creating today? We're creating a request. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to call this new, and I'm going to just put it in capital letters because I've got a few workflows in here. New onboarding workflow, and select apply. Okay, now you're going to edit subtype view, and this is where you're going to add the fields. This is the whole point of the subtype. You need to add the fields that you want into the subtype that's pertinent for the workflow. So what you need to do is you need to go into design form over here. And let's all think together, what kind of fields would we need for an onboarding workflow? So if you want, you can type in the chat. One of the things that I can tell you is, of course, what do you want to do? You want to obviously know the employee's first name, what their last name is. You would want to know what their start date is. Okay. Now I'm adding in a field here. Right now, this is a field that's called follow-up user. This is an exceptionally important field, and I'm going to go into more details why. But the follow-up user is going to be changed in the translation file, and if I have time at the end, is going to be changed to the name of the hiring manager. And why do I like follow-up user? Follow-up user I like because it's a drop-down of all of your users in your company. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use. You might already have a field called manager, so let me just pull in follow-up user. And someone said department is already on here. Okay, but there's some fields I'm just going to remove, and I'm going to just change. So I'm going to remove the main asset to the left-hand side, and I'm going to remove the company field and so forth. I'm going to remove the urgency, impact, and priority. Of course, if it's important to you, keep urgency, impact, and priority. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to also add over here, I'm just going to add, and I'm just going to move these up because I want them more on the top of my page. And what I might do is add in a notes field. Now, what you can do is also make these required fields, of course. This is how you make it a required field, and select save. Now, before I select save, I want to actually ask you all, is that some of you may not have these fields sitting in your available fields. So I just want to touch and show you where you actually go to create these fields. Okay, so once I save, part one is done. You can see I've got the employee first name and last name. The follow-up user I'm using as the hiring manager's name. And like I said, we're going to change the name in the translation file if there's time. But here we've got all of the fields that we need, the submit user, request user, and so forth. Okay, part number one is done. Let's just take you to the section where you create new fields. If you're going to customize, into fields customization, into service record, because this is specifically for service record. And you can see just the fields that I've already created. Let me just get out of caps locks. You can see I created these fields. So if you just want to create a field, let's just say the field is the person's role, okay? And if you want it to be a text field, you would create a text field. You would give it a DB field name. All I usually do is just type in little letters, role, and then when I click on apply, you're going to see it actually creates a DB field name automatically. And you will then see in fields customization under role, it's pending addition, and this can take up to about 20 to 30 minutes in the cloud. If you're on premise, it's going to take a lot quicker. Yeah, so this is how you create a field. Because we're also working in the action item entity, you're also going to see that we have to also create employee first name and last name. Just be aware that this is where you create it, but I'm not going to go into any more detail just like that. Okay, so let me pause. We've done part number one. It's the subtype. I just want to see if there's any questions. Onboarding and offboarding requires 3 different departments, and they all need to hit the ground running. And yeah, absolutely, Steve. All right. I don't see too many questions. Edson, someone will address your question with regards to the new interface. So one of the team will. So what about creating it in spaces? That's a great question. On the July the 2nd, there's actually going to be a specific workflow creation in spaces. Okay, so we're actually doing both for both types of customers. Okay, so let's move on. Part 1 is done. We have created the subtype, and I hope that you think that it's actually quite easy to do and so forth. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the request template. The request template is where we're going to predefine certain conditions, and this is where we're going to create our workflow. Okay, so just remember it is only done in the template. So let's find my new onboarding work. Here it is, and let's open it up. Okay, so firstly, I've made it visible to the end user, which is your users on the self-service portal. You're going to see that this is where it's actually saved on the self-service portal. So it's in the general area, but you don't have to worry about that now. But what you can do is you can predefine certain things. For example, your category. Firstly, you want to predefine your category. This is HR, and it's an onboarding workflow. You can create anything in your description, okay? If you would like to say, please provide all the necessary details for your new employee, okay? All right, so let's see if there's anything else we can predefine. So usually we can also predefine the status, okay? So the status that we're going to use is, because this is going to take us directly, because as the request is going to come in, it's going to go straight into approval process. So we're going to predefine the status to an approval process. I have this person, Daryl Mann, who is the process manager. He's actually the administrator. And then I'm going to select apply. So I've predefined absolutely everything that I wanted to do on this stage. Okay, now this is the part where I want to take you into the workflow designer. And I just wanted to tell you all something, because just based on your polls and just thinking about it out loud, you know, when I joined professional services, it took me a long time to understand the logic, and it took me a long time to actually understand how to create the process. So these are my best practices. Some people like to work off big, like I have a vision of what each workflow, what it looks like. I'm the type of person, when I spoke with my customers, I like to talk it through with them and create it for them. And you can use whatever I guess, whatever thing that helps you create the workflow. But the main thing is you just need to know your process. The process is the most important thing of a workflow, because if you don't know your process, how can you create it? So I have a specific process in mind for onboarding, which I'm obviously going to share with you, but just keep that in mind, and it's just something that I want to share. And it does take time, and we're all here to assist you. We have an excellent team, and of course, we've got customer care as well, but it does take time, so don't be hard on yourselves if you don't get it after the session only, but I think you're going to walk out of here feeling much better. Okay, so let's go into Workflow Designer. Now, this is where you want to create the flow. I see Ilona has raised, there's a raised hand. I see it, hang on a second. I'm not sure why, but let's continue. Okay, so this is where you're going to create your flow. Okay, now, if you guys could think to yourselves, okay, what would necessarily be the flow of a workflow? So if we talk through it, we say, okay, there's going to be a request, and the request is probably going to come through, whether it be a director. Let's just say for myself, for me, if I want to onboard a new employee, I'm going to put in a request and it's going to need to go to my manager, the CCO, for some kind of an approval, okay? Once he or she approves, what's going to happen next? Does anyone want to write anything? I'm happy to hear your feedback. But what's going to happen usually next is, number one, hiring manager needs to approve. Exactly. Shah, if I'm saying your name correctly. The next thing, absolutely, it needs to go to IT. Yes, okay. So it needs to go to IT. Why? Because IT also needs to approve, okay? And once IT approve, what's the next part? There's actually going to be an IT process, right? Where there needs to be some kind of the installation, the user needs to be created in Active Directory. So this is where we're creating that. So I know my process, and I've just given you a 3-step process. Of course, everyone has their own process. IT equipment, exactly. And so let's start. Okay, so the first part of my process is, can you see over here the first 3 dots? We're going to go in, and I'm going to add a new action item. Okay, and my first action item is the hiring manager approval. All right, so I'm going to put it in over here. I've just, instead of me typing it out, you're going to type the name, hiring manager approval, into the name and as a tab caption. Okay, now what fields do you need? Firstly, of course we need the assigned to. Okay, these 2 fields I don't need. However, what other fields do I need? We need to know the employee first name and the employee last name. Okay. The hiring manager would need to know the start date. Okay. Perhaps some notes. And of course, most importantly, you want to add in the approved field. Okay. Now, remember I showed you a few minutes ago with the employee first name and last name? This is what I've created in the action item entity. Remember I showed you the service record? So you need to create these fields in the service record and in the action item entity that I showed you a few minutes ago. Why? Because this is, Jazwal, the reason why the employee name is here is because this is now the part of the workflow process, right? So that even though, yes, it is on the request, you would need to know, for example, the IT manager might not always want to access the request. His task, he only sees what he needs to do in his action item. So he might not have visibility to the initial request. So that's why you want to put in all of the information that's relevant for the hiring manager to see. Okay, and of course, let's make this a required field and let's save it. Okay, so we've created the first one. All right, the next action item. All right, you mentioned, Shai, you said IT approval. Okay, so let's create it. Let's create it all. All right, so let's go. Let me just copy and paste my IT approval. Control C. Okay. I copy and paste a lot quicker than what I do when I'm typing. Okay, so IT approval. I don't need these 2 fields. I'm taking them straight out of here. What fields do I need? So I'm going to add in again. It's the employee first name, the employee last name, the start date, maybe some notes. And I think, Shah, I think you also mentioned it, the equipment list, absolutely. And the approval. Okay. Next, great. So I'm creating a task for each group or individual that needs to do something related to the new employee. So I'm going to save it. Okay. Now, some people, Georgian, maybe you do this, I don't know. Some people actually create, instead of creating their flow here, they create their flow sideways. Of course, you can do that. Absolutely. I've always just created mine under one tab, and that's how I've always done it. There's no right or wrong. It's just different, and it's completely up to you. Okay.
Just a visual choice.
Just a visual choice. Absolutely. That's all it is. The process still continues as it does. Thanks, George. Okay, so then the next part of the process is the IT process, right? This is where one of you mentioned, okay, the AD and so forth, what I mentioned. So I'm going to put in IT process over here. Control V. Okay, so now I do want to tell you that I'm taking these all out. In fact, I'm going to keep assigned to in, but I've got an IT team, right? So I actually want to put in the admin group because I want to send the notification when we do notifications to the admin group. Okay, and I'm going to move it up. And I'm going to put it in here. The same thing, the employee, the first name, the last name. And you can see once you get used to this and you get used to the rhythm, the start date. Okay, I actually want to put in an instructions field in here. And you're going to see why. And they don't need to approve anything. I'm just trying to think, what am I missing? Am I missing anything, George? No, I don't think I am. You can, of course, you can add in software. I mean, I can go on forever, but I'm just obviously want to give you an idea of how the workflow works, all right? Okay, so I don't believe there's anything else I need to do here, and I'm going to save it. Great. So right now I've got 3 steps. And the last step in my specific process, I mean, I may go to HR afterwards, okay? Like it's all depends on your process, like I've said before. But just for the sake of our exercise, my last action item is what happens, of course, if the hiring manager does not, if he actually doesn't approve of this person. So this is going to be specifically request, I'll type this one out, request rejected. Okay, I'll just stick with capital letters. You don't have to. Request rejected, because what's going to happen is if it does get rejected, you obviously want to let the person who submitted the request, you want to let them know. So I'll just copy and paste this here. Okay, and I'm going to take these 2 fields out. What I am going to do is I'm going to put in the approval because it's either obviously going to be or no. So I need to have that in here. And I'm also going to add in the notes field because perhaps the hiring manager might want to put in some specific notes or not. Okay. And I'm going to save it. Great. So now what we've done is we've created the flow. Okay. Now what's super important is, and let me just go out of this for a second. We're over here. This is the section where you're going to find what I've just created. And here is the flow. Okay. Now you can predefine. Remember I said in the request, on the request details, you can predefine things in the template. You can predefine whatever it is that you want in the workflow section here as well. Okay. So things that I would predefine, for example, we don't know who the hiring manager is. Okay, so this is something we can't predefine. But what I do know is that myself, you can see my name in my test account is John Smith. And at the end of this, don't say thank you, John, for everything. My name is Cindy. Okay, but you can predefine John Smith in here because John Smith does all of the IT approvals. Okay. And I'm going to select apply. All right. You can predefine in the section and in the instruction section over here, you can predefine, and I'm just going to copy and paste it, what the actual IT team needs to do. Okay. So let me just Control C, Control V. These are the instructions. Assign the corresponding assets to the new hire. Create the new hire in Active Directory and add the hardware and software. One thing that I didn't do here, which I just realized, I didn't put in the, I left out a field. I didn't put in the equipment list, so it needs to actually be added on here. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to do that. Okay, so let's just apply that. And this is sometimes what happens, okay? So let's go back to the workflow designer in the IT process. Sorry, not there. Okay, I want to go in and I just want to create, and I just want to add in that equipment list. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to save it. Great. Okay, so we've predefined who the approver is on this side. The admin group, of course, we know who the admin group is. I'm just in my test account, it's called the IT security group. And that's all we know that we can actually predefine here. Okay, so let me pause. Let me see if there's any questions. George, I see you've got a supervisor named John Smith. That's quite funny. Jarul, are there any questions that I need to answer here? I'm just looking through the chats. George, I see that you are assisting very nicely. Thank you. Can the IT approval be assigned to a group? Absolutely. For sure, it can. Okay, great. So let's continue. If there's something that's not clear, of course, type your questions. Let me know. Feedback is always important. How many approval steps can you have? As much as you want to. As much as you want to. Oh, there we go. Thank you, George. You can have as many as you want to. But what's really nice, you can change them around if you want to. I worked in the days where we didn't have workflow designers. So once you created your flow, you're stuck with it. And if you forgot something, you had to kind of start backtracking. Okay. Yes, David, you will get a copy of the video. All right, so now we've created our flow. The next thing, super important. What we need to do is we need to create dependencies. Okay, now for the very first action item, you don't create a dependency on the first action item, because it's already connected to the service record. But why do you create dependencies? Because when your hiring manager gets the approval, you don't want the ticket to go to the IT approval and to the IT process once your HR, I keep saying HR, once your hiring manager has actually approved it. Okay, so that's why you need to create dependencies, because if you don't have dependencies, everyone will get their tasks and they'll need to do whatever they want to do all at the same time. But no, we're building a flow. The flow is the hiring manager approves, the IT manager approves, and then it goes to the IT process team in IT to do what they need to do. So let's create dependencies. Okay, this is how you do it. I'm going to click on the 3 lines over here and select dependencies. What is our dependency? I only want IT approval to get this notification once the hiring manager has approved. So this is how you do it. You click on Add Dependency, and it depends on the Workflow tab. Remember I said, because my screen is a little bit smaller, I'll just show you. I can't show you now. It's my little Approve tab at the top, okay? So it's dependent on that tab, and it depends on the hiring manager. Number 1, he needs to complete the action item, and I'm going to show you all of this. And most importantly, I need to add a condition. What is the condition? That the approval needs to be yes. Okay, so it needs to be completed, and the approval needs to be yes. And then you select Done. Quick and easy. And then we close it off. Dependency done. You can see it's gone gray. Now the same thing here is the IT process. It's dependent on the IT manager approving. So let's go. Let's create another one. Okay, so I'm adding the dependency. Again, it comes from the top approval tab. And it's not dependent on the hiring manager's approval. It's dependent on the IT manager's approval, on completion, and the approval needs to be yes. All right. I hope this is all making sense, but this is the logic, and I want to try and obviously get through a lot of the logic. Okay. This one's done. And the next thing that I want to do is request rejected. Of course, we have to add a dependency there. And the dependency is dependent on the Approve tab, and it's dependent on the hiring manager's approval on completion, and his approval needs to be no, and that's when the request rejected is going to be created. Okay, done. Okay, so we've created our dependencies, and this is what the flow is looking like. Okay, next part. What we need to do is we need to go in and let's just see. No, it's not here. We need to go into attributes. Okay, now the whole part of the workflow process, like I said to you all in the beginning, is that you need to have the streamlined for you, right? You need to be able to go in, and you don't want to have your administrator go in and have to update the status. You want this all to be done automatically. You want to send notifications, okay? And I just want to let you know that if you do need someone to approve, they don't need to be an administrator, all right? So for now, let's say that on activation, we want to change the status automatically to in approval status. Okay. Do we want to send a notification to the hiring manager? Absolutely. This one's already created and it's out the box. And the one that says embedded actions, this is the one that you can use where you can actually approve or deny from an actual email. Beautiful. So I'm creating that. I'm not creating any other, I'm not doing another status on completion. You can, if you want to, you can say approval completed, for example, if you wanted to. But for this is absolutely good enough. All right. And we say done. Let's go in and we're going to do the same thing. All right. Now, let's say, for example, the IT manager, let's just say now you're looking at this and you're thinking, I don't actually have a really good status here for the IT approval. So I want to show you. Let's close this off for now. I want to show you where you can change that. So you're going to go into customize and you're going to go into your lists and you're going to go into your statuses section over here. And I know, and we're just looking at requests now. So there's a lot of out the box statuses that are already created, as you can see. So I'm going to check box this being analyzed for requests, and I actually want to create a status. I'm going to name it number 50, and I'm going to say something like pending IT, and I only want this visible for my requests, and I'm going to add it, and I'm going to save it. Okay, so let's go back to our workflow designer. And we were on this one, right? And now I want to put in here. So this one is we're still going to do in approval process. Okay. The notification is also going to be with embedded actions because we know that the IT manager has to approve it. Done. But the third one is in attributes. I want the status to change as soon as this goes into the IT processes team, and I want to change it to pending IT. That's the one I just created. Amazing. And the notification I want to send to them is just going to be a standard notification because they don't need to approve anything in this specific spot. And I'm going to select done. And the last one that I'm going to do, so I hope you can see I'm repeating because sometimes repetitive, especially for me, is always a good thing for me. That's how I learn a lot better. So what would the status be? Of course, it's going to be request rejected. Okay. And we probably want to create a request rejected notification. I've already done it just in the interest of time, just to make sure we don't run out of time. But here is the request rejected. Done. Okay. That is the one part. Now, the other part of creating this workflow is data population. Does a recording have all of these comments? Barak, maybe you can comment on that. Okay, so data population. So why hang on a second, there's a poll. Hang on, not yet, but it's okay. We're sending you a poll. do you think you'll be able to create a workflow from the session? So let's see. I'm seeing a lot of, I'm very glad that there's only been 4 of you that said definitely not. Okay, so that's why you're going to have the recording, and you can honestly follow this recording step by step. But the absolutely's and the maybes, you're making me smile. 50% of you are all saying, and 43% of you are saying maybes. Watch, when we finish with this, hopefully your answers will be, you'll be a lot more confident. Okay, let's end the poll. Thank you. Okay, so now data population. Why is data population important? Because I'm John Smith, and I have to now do what I need to do. I need to see the data that's been populated, or the notes or the instructions from previous action items, okay? So that's why the very first one, I need to populate, remember that follow-up user, which is the hiring manager? I need to make him the assigned to of the hiring manager approval. And then all you do is just add it and save it, okay? Of course, you can go in and you can populate. Wait, I think I did it for the wrong one. Hang on, I'm going to go back to IT approval. So hiring manager, it's populated from the service record. And who is the hiring manager? It's the follow-up user. So we're populating the details from there to the assigned to, add it, and save it. Okay. The second one, this I can actually just delete. All right. Because remember, I'm John Smith, I'm doing this approval. So you can populate all of the information from the service record, like the first employee. You want the first employee name to populate. You don't have to keep rewriting the employee first name. And you just got to match the fields. Like this is saying that this is the service record field. This is the action item field. Match them up, right? So employee first name. I happen to have created them exactly the same name in both entities. So I would highly recommend you do the same. Okay. And we want to populate this from the service record, the employee last name. Okay. Perfect. Add it, save it. And I'm not going to populate all of them just in the interest of time because we are running out of time. But this is how you can populate all of the information from these specific fields that you want to. Okay. Any questions with creating the template? The only thing that I do want to show you specifically for the request rejected when it comes to data population is that you want the service record to populate. The assigned to of here is actually going to be the request user, because let's just say this is rejected. You want to send the request user notification, right? So it's the request user is actually going to be the assigned to. Okay. I don't know why we don't have the request user in here. I'm not sure why. It's just how SysAid is designed. But this is exactly how you would do it, and you would add it and save it. Okay. I hope this all makes sense. This is part number 2 done. I'm not going to address any of these questions. I see, George, you're helping, which is amazing. And I'm going to keep George just answering some of the questions. If there's anything you want me to cover, just shout out and I will see that and I will answer it. Okay, so remember, subtype, part 1, done. Okay, request templates, we've done it. Just the new one, done. Okay, now, of course, what is going to be visible for the person who's submitting this in the self-service portal? Okay, so let's go into the request submission form. And this is where we got to add the fields that we want to add. All right. So over here, I need to find my subtype, which was called new. Thank you. Now, do you all see why I put it in capital letters so I could find it easy? Okay. New onboarding workflow. What we're going to do is, what is the template? It's exactly the same name. Where is it? It's over here. And you can see, remember I predefined the categories and onboarding and everything. Now I'm missing some fields and I definitely don't need the urgency fields. So let's go into design form. Okay, so on the top right, you click on design form. Okay, and you put in the fields that you want. And this is all exactly the same thing. The employee first name, last name, the start date, because this is how the original request is going to come in. And remember that follow-up user, which is your hiring manager. Okay. All right. I don't need urgency. You may want to keep attachments or not. So let's just send these ones out. Urgency, let us remove. Let's just, okay. And what we can do, we can just move these. I'm just going to leave them at the bottom for now. Okay, but what you can do as well is you must actually always have, you can have this as a required field, for example. Okay, so I'm going to save it. Amazing. So now let's take a trip to the self-service portal and let's submit a request and see how it goes. So self-service portal. And of course, this is my test account. Let's go into submit a request. Now, the request, so usually you're not going to have, hopefully you don't have so many requests and templates and so forth. What you can do is one can also have category-driven templates, right? So if you have HR and if you select onboarding, then the template actually comes up. The only thing is I've been practicing too much on this, so it's another template I was working on, but this is the actual template that we're using in capital letters. Okay, and we've got a title, description, all of these details. So let's create the tickets. All right. Obviously you can add in what you want to add in description and so forth. So the person's employee, I'll just use my name, Cindy. Okay, and my surname is Sivan. And the start date, I'll just put at the end of June. And as the hiring manager, who is the hiring manager? The hiring manager I'm just going to make is the CEO. I hope our CEO is not getting notifications, George, just by the way. Okay, then let's submit the request. The request comes in. It's 40068. Let's go over here into requests, and we can see it over here immediately because we predefined these statuses. We can see that it's in approval process. Okay, now because I'm not the CEO and I didn't populate all of the values because of time sensitivity, all of these employee first name and last name would be, if you do pre-populate everything, will obviously be pulled over. But for the sake of time, of course, I'm just going to approve it. Now, like I said, I'm approving on behalf of the CEO, but the CEO is going to get something that's going to look like this, and I'm going to show you next. So he or she needs to say yes, and they need to complete it, apply. Okay, and they need to complete it. You can see it's blue. As soon as, because this is, remember, the IT approval is only going to get the notification if it's complete and if the approval is yes. So let's complete. Okay, cool. Now you can see the IT approval has been activated here. Who's John Smith? You can see I did some population over there. Now I want to just show you what it looks like for me in workflow actions. I don't necessarily need to be I have an admin license, and I can just approve from here. I can see all of the details, right? And I'm going to say, yes, I've approved it. I'm going to also apply it, and I'm also going to complete it because it's never, ever going to go to the IT team to process if I haven't done those steps. And you can see this is the process, okay? And then the same thing, IT are going to get their notification. Let's just go in and check what the status is. It's pending IT. And that's pretty much the way the flow is going. So obviously we don't have as much time, but I've pretty much completed everything. There's just one or two things before we wrap up. Is first and foremost is, would you like, if you can launch the poll, please, Barak, would you like an account manager to contact you? That's the first and foremost. If you would like to say yes or no. And while you're completing the poll, I just did want to share over here is that we have a Queen's University. They're one of our customers, and they really speak quite highly about how SysAid workflows has helped them. And I always usually like to share success stories. So just something that they said, that their contracts renew timely with pre-approval, and more than 80% of incoming computers, there was an improvement there. And also because of their workflows, approximately a third of the time it used to take each month, it helped drop time to perform by a third of the time, which is absolutely amazing. So before I wrap up, what's in it for you? If I honestly, and I'd love you to start writing in the chat right now. Please, I would love your feedback. Did this help you? Yes or no? I would love to hear your feedback. What's in it for you is, if you do not need our help, amazing. That means my job is complete, and that's fantastic. But if you do need assistance from our professional services, up until the end of the month, if you buy 3 PS hours, you get one for free. Or you get a 25% discount on professional services packages as well. Okay, so if you would like to be in contact with your account manager, and that's pretty much it from me. So what can I say? I hope you all feel confident. If you would like to add in any feedback, that would be amazing. Thanks, Paul. And I'm glad this helped you, Nancy. And thank you so much all for joining me today. I just want to put into the chat right now, before you all start dropping off, I do want to put into the chat, please feel free. We've got other power hours, so you're welcome to join. Here is the registration for the other power hour. And that's it from me. So thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. And thank you, George, for joining. Bye.
You bet. Bye, everyone.
Bye.